I was driving alone on a dark and stormy night, looking for a place to stay. I had been on the road for hours and I was exhausted. I just wanted to find a cheap motel, get some sleep, and continue my journey in the morning. I saw a sign that said, Motel 6, next exit. I decided to take it, hoping that it would be a decent place. I followed the directions and soon I saw a neon sign that said Motel 6 in red letters. It looked old and run down, but I didn't care. I just needed a bed. I parked my car in the empty lot and got out. I grabbed my backpack and walked to the reception. The door was unlocked, but there was no one inside. There was a bell on the counter and a sign that said, "Ring for service." I rang the bell and waited. After a few seconds, I heard a shuffling sound from behind a curtain. A man emerged wearing a stained shirt and pants. He had a scruffy beard and a greasy hair. He looked at me with a bored expression and said, "What do you want?" "I need a room for the night," I said. He nodded and reached for a key. He handed it to me and said, "Room 12, second floor. That'll be $40. I gave him the money and asked, "Do you have Wi-Fi?" He shook his head and said, "Nope, no Wi-Fi, no cable, no phone. Just a bed and a bathroom. You get what you pay for." I sighed and said, "Fine, thanks." I took the key and walked to the stairs. I climbed up and looked for room 12. I found it at the end of the hallway. I inserted the key and opened the door. The room was small and dirty. There was a bed with a stained sheet, a nightstand with a lamp, a dresser with a mirror, and a TV that looked like it was from the 80s. There was a window with a curtain and a door that led to the bathroom. The room smelled like mold and cigarettes. I dropped my backpack on the floor and sat on the bed. It creaked and I felt something poke me. I lifted the sheet and saw a spring sticking out of the mattress. I groaned and lay down. I turned on the lamp and looked at the TV. There was a remote on the nightstand, but it had no batteries. I decided to skip the TV and just try to sleep. I closed my eyes and tried to relax. I heard the rain pounding on the roof and the wind howling outside. I also heard some noises from the other rooms. I heard doors slamming, footsteps, voices, laughter, screams, and moans. I wondered who else was staying in this motel and what they were doing. I tried to ignore the noises and drift off to sleep. But then, I heard something that made me open my eyes. I heard a knock on my door and I felt a surge of fear. Who could it be? I didn't know anyone in this town and I didn't want to talk to anyone. I hoped that whoever it was would go away and leave me alone. I stayed silent and pretended that I was asleep. Then there was another knock, louder and more persistent. I heard a voice, a man's voice saying, "Hey, open up. I know you're in there. I saw you check in. Come on, let me in. I just want to talk." I recognized the voice. It was the man from the reception, the one who gave me the key. Why was he here? What did he want? I felt a chill run down my spine and I wished I had locked the door. I heard him try to turn the knob and I heard him curse. He had tried to open the door, but it was locked. I felt a moment of relief, but it was short-lived. I heard him say, "Don't make me break the door. Just open up and we can have some fun. You don't want to make me angry, do you?" I felt a wave of panic and I looked around the room. I looked for something to defend myself, something to use as a weapon. I saw nothing but a lamp, a remote, and a spring. I grabbed the lamp and held it in my hand. It was heavy and it had a cord. Maybe I could use it to hit him, or to strangle him. I heard him kick the door and I heard the wood crack. He was trying to break the door and he was succeeding. I saw the door bend and I saw a gap appear. I saw his eye and his nose and his mouth. He was smiling and he said, "There you are. Don't be shy. I'm coming in." I screamed and I threw the lamp at him. I aimed for his head, but I missed. The lamp hit the wall and shattered. The bulb exploded and the room went dark. I heard him laugh and I heard him say, "Nice try, but you can't stop me. I'm coming in." He kicked the door again and the lock snapped. The door flew open and he stepped inside. He was holding a knife and he said, "Hello, sweetheart. I'm here to make you happy." I saw him coming towards me, holding a knife. I felt a surge of adrenaline and I acted on instinct. I kicked him in the groin and he groaned. He dropped the knife and he bent over. I grabbed the knife and I stabbed him in the chest. He gasped, and he fell to the floor. He was bleeding, and he was still. I didn't wait to see if he was dead. I ran to the door and I opened it. I looked outside and I saw no one. I ran down the stairs and I ran to the parking lot. I got in my car and I started the engine. I drove away as fast as I could. I didn't stop until I reached the next town. I found a police station and I told them what happened. I told them about the motel and the man and the knife. I showed them the wound on my arm where he had cut me. I showed them the blood on my clothes and the knife in my hand. They took me to a hospital and they treated my wound. They took my statement and they called the motel. They told me that they had found the man's body and that he was dead. They told me that he was the owner of the motel and that he had a history of violence. I felt a mix of emotions. I felt relief and shock and horror and guilt. I had killed a man, but I had also saved myself. I had escaped from a nightmare, but I had also created one. I had survived, but I had also changed. I was on a road trip across the country trying to see as many places as I could before I settled down for a new job. I had been driving for hours and the sun was setting behind me. I decided to look for a motel to spend the night and maybe explore the town a bit in the morning. I saw a sign for a motel called the Starlight Inn, and I followed the directions to a small building on the side of the road. It looked old and run down, but I didn't care much. I just wanted a bed and a shower. I parked my car in the lot, which was almost empty, and walked to the reception. The lobby was dimly lit and smelled of stale cigarettes. There was a TV playing some news channel, but no one was watching. I rang the bell on the counter and a man came out from the back room. He was bald and had a thick mustache. He looked bored and annoyed. "Hi, I need a room for the night," I said. He nodded and handed me a form to fill out. I wrote down my name, address, and license plate number. He took the form and gave me a key. "Room 12, second floor on the left," he said. "Thanks," I said. I grabbed my backpack and headed to the stairs. The carpet was stained and worn, and the walls were peeling. I wondered how long this place had been in business, and how it stayed afloat. I reached the second floor and walked to my room. It was at the end of the hall, next to another room with a "Do Not Disturb" sign on the door. I unlocked my room and entered. It was small and simple, with a bed, a dresser, a TV, and a bathroom. It was cleaner than I expected, but still had a musty smell. I threw my backpack on the bed and checked the bathroom. It had a shower, a sink, and a toilet. The towels looked old and rough, but they were clean. I decided to take a shower and relax. I stripped off my clothes and turned on the water. It was hot and strong, and I felt the dirt and sweat wash away. I shampooed my hair and soaped my body, humming a tune. I was feeling good and looking forward to a good night's sleep. I turned off the water and dried myself with a towel. I wrapped it around my waist and walked out of the bathroom. I was about to put on some fresh clothes when I heard a noise from the room next to mine. It was a tapping sound, like someone was knocking on the wall. It was faint, but steady. I wondered who was staying in that room and what they were doing. Maybe they were trying to get my attention, or maybe they were just bored. I ignored it and put on my clothes. The tapping continued, and I started to get annoyed. It was distracting and irritating. I decided to go to the door and ask them to stop. I opened my door and stepped out into the hall. I walked to the door of the room next to mine and knocked. "Hey, can you please stop tapping on the wall?" I asked. There was no answer. The tapping stopped for a moment, then resumed. I knocked again, louder. "Hello? Is anyone there? Can you please stop making that noise?" I asked. Still no answer. The tapping went on. I was getting angry. I tried the doorknob, but it was locked. I banged on the door with my fist. "Hey, open up! I'm trying to sleep here!" I shouted. The tapping stopped. I waited for a response, but there was none. I gave up and went back to my room. I slammed the door and locked it. I was fed up with the rude neighbor. I decided to put on some headphones and listen to some music. Maybe that would drown out the noise and calm me down. I plugged in my headphones and turned on my phone. I scrolled through my playlist and picked a song. I put the headphones on and pressed play. The music filled my ears and I felt better. I lay down on the bed and closed my eyes. I tried to forget about the tapping and the neighbor. I tried to relax and fall asleep. I don't know how long I slept, but I woke up suddenly. I felt a chill in the air and a sense of dread in my chest. I opened my eyes and looked around. The room was dark, except for the faint light from the TV. I reached for my phone, but it was dead. The music had stopped. I took off my headphones and listened. There was silence. No tapping, no noise, nothing. I wondered what time it was and if the neighbor had left. I felt a bit relieved, but also curious. I decided to check the window and see if his car was still there. I got up from the bed and walked to the window. I pulled the curtain and looked outside. The parking lot was empty, except for my car. There was no sign of the neighbor's car or any other car. I wondered where he had gone and when. I wondered if he had checked out or just left. I was about to close the curtain when I saw something that made me gasp. It was a silhouette of a man standing in the corner of my room. He was facing me, but I couldn't see his face. He was wearing a black suit and a red tie. He had a briefcase in one hand and a bloody knife in the other. He was the neighbor. He was in my room. I panicked and screamed. I ran to the door and tried to open it. It was locked. I fumbled with the key, but I dropped it. I looked back at the man and he was still there. He didn't move or speak or smile. He just stood there watching me. He was waiting for me. I was terrified and helpless. I didn't know who he was or what he had done or what he wanted. I only knew that I had to get away from him. I grabbed a chair and threw it at the window. It shattered and I climbed out. I cut myself on the glass, but I didn't care. I jumped to the ground and ran to the reception. I hoped someone was there and could help me. In just a few minutes, the cops showed up and I started telling them about what went down. They threw some questions my way and then they guided me to the ambulance. They checked out my wounds and expertly wrapped them up. They assured me I was lucky and on the road to recovery. The plan was to take me to the hospital first and then to the station. Adding to that, they let me know they had thoroughly searched the motel, and that's when they found the guy. He was still chilling on my bed, not putting up a fight or saying a word. He just grinned and handed over his knife. Oddly enough, his clothes and briefcase had some blood on them. The officers spilled the beans on what was in the briefcase, and it was downright terrifying. Human body parts, all carefully packed and labeled, made up this gruesome collection. Ears, eyes, noses, tongues, fingers, toes, and more, all neatly arranged. The cops explained that these parts matched up with missing persons cases and unsolved murders. The revelation painted the man as a serial killer, going from place to place, killing and collecting body parts. For the next few months, I was in therapy, trying to deal with what had happened. Nightmares, flashbacks, and panic attacks were my constant companions. Sleeping, eating, and socializing became real challenges. I had no friends, no family, no job. I had nothing. I was on a cross-country road trip with my girlfriend Lisa, looking forward to a vacation filled with national parks and scenic views. While most of our hotel bookings were planned, we left a few nights open for spontaneity. Big mistake. We were in rural Nebraska, exhausted and hungry, looking for a motel late at night. We found a one-story building named Motel 66. It had dirty windows, cracked paint, and a dingy office with a bell. We rang it, and a tall, thin man emerged with greasy hair, a stained shirt, a crooked smile, and a lazy eye. "Room 12, cash only, $40, he said, handing us a key without asking for our names. He smirked, saying, "Enjoy your stay." Our room was at the end of the hall, next to an out-of-order vending machine. The door was dented, the lock loose, and the room itself was worse than expected. Small, dark, and musty, it had stained and torn carpet, peeling wallpaper, a sagging bed with a thin sheet, and a non-functional TV. The bathroom was filthy, smelling of mold, with no amenities like a phone, Wi-Fi, AC, or heater. Exhausted, we decided to tough it out for the night, putting our bags on the floor and attempting to sleep through the noises from other rooms and the nearby highway. Another mistake. Around 3 a.m., a loud bang woke me up. It sounded like a slammed door. Lisa still slept beside me. I checked the window, pulling back the curtain to see a man in front of our door, holding a crowbar and a flashlight, wearing a ski mask and gloves, attempting to break in. Fear and adrenaline surged through me. Searching for a weapon, I found none. I ran to the door, locking it and waking Lisa. I whispered, "Someone's trying to break in, we have to get out." No signal, no weapons, and locked inside, we had no escape plan. Waiting for a moment of silence, we opened the door and ran past the man, hoping to reach safety. We reached the office, where the man from earlier sat, smoking casually. He laughed, refusing to help and claiming, "You're on your own, pal." He disappeared into the back, leaving us alone. The man with the crowbar entered the office, grinning menacingly. He declared, "You can't run from me. You're mine now." Charging at us, we evaded his attacks, but the other guests merely watched in fear and confusion. Desperate, we grabbed a fire extinguisher from the wall. Lisa kicked the man in the groin. I hit him with the extinguisher, and we escaped to our car, driving away without looking back. At the next town's police station, we reported the incident, thankful to be alive. The police promised an investigation, but we never discovered the man's identity, his motive, or anything about the mysterious motel and its indifferent manager. We drove on, haunted by the unsettling night and unanswered questions.